Hi, and welcome to this episode of the podcast with me, Geeta Joshi. I'm a curator, an art dealer, and an organizer for Artists Open Studios. And today I'm here with Nicole Liloia. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Geeta. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm really excited. Well, I think we're going to have a great conversation. So I wanted to talk about one of the things that you discuss in your business, which is around business karma. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I am a business strategist for women entrepreneurs, and something that comes up a lot is business karma, right? So basically, it's, a lot of people have a lot of concerns about, how they're being treated or how money is coming into their business and things like that. And I always think it's really good to assess your own business karma first. So if you're wanting people to do something for you, think about what you're doing to put yourself out there and do that for other people so that you get that response.
So what sort of things would that be? What's an example?
Yeah. So one of the things might be email responsiveness, which we were talking a little bit about. And email responsiveness would be that if you are somebody who's following up with leads or following up because you work with a lot of artists, so maybe you're trying to get an art show together and you're not hearing from people, or you're pitching yourself, you're trying to get your art in certain places and you're not hearing back from people. I think it's really good to assess, how are you in responding up to people when you get emails from people asking for things. So if you're someone who the email gets lost, gets pushed to the side, then it might be time to clean up those habits so that you get quicker responses from people when you're reaching out to them.
So I found that sometimes I can be really effective and, be really responsive within hours or within the day. But other times, I don't know, it seems to be a mood thing where I'm just like, I'll put it off later. Any tips for overcoming that?
Well, let me ask you, for the people who are primarily listening to this, is what they're doing, is their art their full-time job? Is it a part-time job? Is it a combo? Does it depend?
It's usually a mix, actually. Most of our artists they also work in other things. So art isn't their full-time occupation or their full-time income, at least. So they might be teaching, they might have an office job. And art is really the passion, and that's the sort of side of their life that they're trying to build up to hopefully become their full-time work income.
Yeah. So I think what's really helpful is it's sort of a mindset piece where it's sort of like, even though right now feels like more of a hobby and a passion because it's not necessarily bringing in income yet, you want to start thinking like, if I was an artist and I was doing this full time and it was supporting me in my lifestyle, how would I be acting? How would I be responsive? How would I need to show up? And start acting that way in advance.
Nice. Yeah, really good advice, actually, because I think that's also where you start figuring out what you can outsource as well, isn't it? I think,
Yeah.
If you start thinking of yourself as that full-time, artist, but also a business in that case as well, right?
Right. And it just helps you show up more professionally. So it helps you to start to treat it more professionally and give it more time and energy. And suddenly it's just like knowing it's sort of like putting on that, boss hat temporarily, just for a short period of time, and getting through those tasks, empowering through them, because they're going to help you in the future, regardless of how you feel kind of tired or worn out or just nervous or scared about putting that outreach out there in the moment.
Perfect. Okay. Moving on to number 2. What's your next advice for business karma?
Yeah. Thinking about engagement. So engagement is basically about, how you show up and how you engage with other people. And I could just see this is so important because so much of the art, that your clients are doing is very visual, and we want to have it acknowledged, even when it scares us, we want to have it acknowledged. Depending on the platform, like what platforms would you say, what social media platforms are your clients showing off their art on? Are they using social media to show off their art, like Instagram perhaps, or Facebook?
Yeah, most of them are on Instagram. I mean, that's kind of where I'm spending quite a lot of time at the moment myself. So that's certainly where I'm engaging with quite a lot of them. But Twitter, definitely for makers, the people that are making design products, not necessarily fine art. So Twitter, obviously that one's been around longer. And quite a lot of them also have Facebook pages as well, like a Facebook business page, their art life, as well as their personal pages like we all do. So certainly those three, yeah.
So I can totally see how, and I've worked with a lot of artists myself, helping them with their business strategy. And, one of the most common things is Instagram for them. And, when you're posting on Instagram, you want engagement. I use Instagram a lot, for my business too. And I know that I'm like, why aren't people commenting on my posts? Like, why aren't they liking it? Like, I want more likes. I have a lot of followers. Like, why aren't more people watching my Instagram stories? But like what I've noticed is that I'm on Instagram and I'm just, doing my thing, trying to get engagement on my stuff. But I'm not going to other people's platforms or, accounts and giving them engagement on their pages and their pictures. I'm not liking it. I'm not commenting on it. So when you're putting out one-sided energy and you're just wanting and you're not giving, I think it's a very uneven balance. So, a good way to even it up and to get the results you want is to make sure that's how you're treating different people.
Amazing. Thank you.
You said that you use Facebook, right? And a lot of the artists use Facebook.
Yeah, that's right. I do. Yeah.
So recently, Mark Zuckerberg announced again that there's big changes coming and that Facebook business pages and people using Facebook for business are not going to show up in the newsfeed as much. So I know that there's a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs and artists that are really stressed out about this because, of course, you don't want to be putting your stuff out there and not ever having people see it. So, I mean, are you recommending anything to the artists that you work with in order to get their engagement up?
Other than consistent posting and actually trying to get that engagement through asking questions and liking and commenting on other people's posts, not so much, because our audience don't massively go in for the Facebook advertising either. But
Right.
the organizations I work with, we're certainly doing that with boosting posts and things as well. But I think it's the consistency. And I mean, what I've always understood about Facebook, certainly in the last few years, is that the more value you give and the discussion you generate, that you're actually kind of encouraging organic traffic for that, right? So you're giving value rather than just saying, "Hey, look at me, look at my picture."
Right.
You're like say, stimulating conversation.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely something that is really going to be intriguing for artists to think about. And how can they engage their audience in more of the process of creating the art, perhaps than just kind of showing off the final product?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really find that fascinating anyway, like the process side of it, right? I mean, we know that even all these sort of recipe videos and little craft tutorials and things, right? I mean, they're hugely popular, aren't they? They
Yeah.
just get a ton of views and things. So yeah, definitely that sort of video side or figuring out how to do more, yeah, like you say,
I
sort of
know.
behind the scenes work.
Yeah. And I know those videos for me, they're quite like therapeutic to watch. It's a little meditative.
Brilliant. And so what else do you have in your armor of business karma?
Yeah. So another type of karma to be aware of is follow through, right? So what are you committing to? It's easy to sit on those inquiries you get. It's easy to kind of, get requests for projects, but then not follow through or not get back to people. And if you're feeling that too, if you're reaching out to people, to customers, to clients about your art, you want to make sure that you're following through on things quickly. And I think that when you're putting yourself out there, your art is so personal. It really feels like an extension of yourself. It can be really hard and it could kind of stabilize you and kind of paralyze you in terms of putting it out there. So it can absolutely be really important to pay attention to your follow through karma and notice, who are you getting back to on things? Are you completing your art projects? Do you have a million pieces of art that is sitting unfinished and needing a few more finishing touches? And is it hard for you to get projects or pieces sold as a result of that?
And that is, I'm going to say, is that also the follow through in other aspects of your life as well, right? I mean, you wouldn't just isolate it if art was a part-time sort of income for you. Then I'm guessing that's a habit that you need to sort of develop across other aspects of your life. What would you say?
Yeah, I definitely think looking at it in your relationships, looking at it in your other job areas, looking at it, in your house. Have you, all of us, like I moved recently and trying to get a new place together, it's hard and you feel unsettled and you don't feel great about yourself. So I think that it really is important to kind of, step up and show up for yourself and complete things. And I think that when you do have that follow through, you're going to have people who are following through better on you. So if you feel that that is showing up where people don't follow through, where they don't do what they say they're going to for you, where they disappear, where they vanish, I think definitely thinking about how that is happening for you is really, really important as well.
Yeah, really interesting. Okay. So what's the overall message? Clean up your karma.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overall message is just, what areas in your life can you show up better for yourself where you can be more of a boss. And I think that, when you're switching into trying to turn a passion into a full-time job, I think that it is really important to show up as a boss. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like building a muscle, it is a habit that you have to, focus on every day and, work on, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm not as familiar with artists as you. So, what would be some of the biggest areas where you think that, they might not complete things? Where would that show up the most for them?
Um, I think in the work that I do, let's say talking about the Open Studios organizing, around that, it's often around the applications where they're just not being attentive to the detail of applying. So, we have to have quite a lot back and forth, for example, on the application form, because they didn't pay attention to what we wanted the image to sizing or the description we needed from them and things like that. So, yeah, just sort of being sort of attentive to the detail, when they are actually reaching out to people as well. Yeah.
Right. So following directions.
Yeah, I guess.
Absolutely. Because I think that, I think that's a great example because so many of us, I know for me, I'm like a scanner. I look, I glance at things. I'm not good with details. But, if I'm having that experience, where people are not following through on what I ask them to complete. Like maybe new clients are not completing the forms properly or not asking all the questions or not completing, everything 100%. I'm waiting on, credit card information or waiting for them to schedule their appointments. And it's kind of like my schedule is getting backed up. I definitely think then that I would start to look at, where am I skipping areas in my life? Where am I kind of fast forwarding through details? Where am I not really showing up well? Or am I delaying things or just not, paying attention?
Yeah, because I think on the other end of, being the recipient of, like, let's say the online application form, that actually creates more work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, so you already have an idea of, oh, this person's being not difficult or not willfully difficult, but, that energy has changed, right? Just because of, yeah, the initial action of not being attentive to the detail to start
Right.
with.
And you might have two different clients. And if one is more attentive to the details, they'll be more likely to get another opportunity, I'm guessing, to work with you.
Yeah, that happens too.
So I do think it's important for the artists that are out there listening to us to think about, the full picture, not just, it's not always just about the finished art product. It's also about the experience of working with
Yeah, definitely.
as a person. And by just making it easier, they're going to be able to get their art out to more people. You're going to support them better and share their stuff better because they made the process so easy for you that you have more energy to do that.
Brilliant. So you've got a great hack for batching. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, and I think that this is something that is actually going to really, I have a feeling artists are going to be like, oh no, like that's not how I like to work. But I think that it's going to be something that's really going to help them open up more space in their lives so they have more time and energy to be creative. And batching is is a hack. I mean, you can do it with anything, not just business. You can use it in your personal life. And it's where you do the same task over and over multiple times in a row. And it cuts back on decision fatigue. People are probably, I mean, your artist might say it'll cut back on creativity. But I think that if you're doing a monotonous task over and over and you're not switching back and forth between multiple tasks, I think that it'll make it easier for you to get those tasks completed and have more energy for your work.
And what sort of tasks are you referring to then? Administrative, right?
Yeah. So sort of admin tasks, like obviously if they're working on several different art projects or things like that, I think like having a big chunk of time to work on it because, depending what kind of art they're doing, like I have a client who does mixed media. So it's a lot of getting the paint out, getting the art supplies out. It's not something where you can just work on it for an hour. You know what I mean? You need a whole chunk of 4 to 5 hours to work on it. But if you have all these other tasks like laundry or life tasks or other work tasks to get done, you're not going to be able to put aside that 4 to 5 hours. It's going to be hard for you to get into that creative headspace. But by doing the admin tasks, so by putting aside, a chunk of 2 hours to respond to all your emails rather than responding to emails just for a little bit every day might make you more thorough. To be working on applications for exhibits in a row and go from one application to the next when you're in that mindset and you're, using the same similar information, I'm guessing,
Yeah, it would be the same information. I think, what I find I'm good at batching is when I'm writing the emails that go out to the list rather than, individual email replies. So I think what happens is I end up kind of getting into flow with the writing style. Mm-hmm. And I'm able to write, 2 or 3 emails that are read and that sort of they're just scheduled for the coming weeks. So I think it also develops that, you're using that same part of the brain, I guess, right?
Yeah. And actually follow up, like we were talking about in terms of follow through and responsiveness karma. If you have a weekly time where you're checking in on your applications or you're checking in with your previous clients and seeing if they want a new piece of art or something different, it really can help you strengthen that relationship with them because of your consistency.
Oh, excellent.
We have this awesome guide called Batch Like a Boss. And I actually list out 20 different things that you can batch because I know it's really easy to get overwhelmed. Once you start batching, it's really exciting. So I make it really easy for you by listing out all the different things that you can batch and you can really take time to do in your business. And I think that really is important for artists because the time that they're being creative, they really need that time. They need to protect that creative space, creative energy. So they can really structure other time periods in their week around those admin tasks, around social media to get their visibility up, to get their art out to more people. And, I think it'll actually open up their energy to even be more creative and create more work.
I think one of the things I really like about batching is how productive you feel afterwards as well. And actually that's kind of a little bit of like pat on the back, sort of a rewarding feeling, isn't it? Yeah, I've got to do all of that today. So
right. It increases your confidence for sure.
So I will put it in the show notes, but tell us where people can download that PDF.
Yeah, they can go to NicoleLiloia.com/batchlikeaboss. And Nicole Liloia, Liloia. And it's just a really handy guide. You'll instantly get access to the 20 things that you can use it on. And I really do think it'll just be such an energy saver for people.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nicole, for your time today. So where can people follow you on Instagram or any of the other social networks?
Yeah, they can find me straight at Nicole Liloia on most of those, which makes it really easy. And come say hi and let me know that you're batching or that you're trying it out. And I'm excited to hear about that. And I'd also just love for you to tag me in some of your works of art so I could check it out.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.